first album came out and was such a massive success, did that surprise you? How big that it got?
Well, yeah. I mean, you just don't think about things like that. I think people have this weird perspective on that post-album stuff because as a band, what you put into the record all happens before that. Right. I mean, you make the record, and all that other stuff is other people's reaction to it. I mean, it's somewhat influenced by performances on TV. I think our performance on Saturday Night Live when we played around here was a huge driver for it. But you're making a record, you're making music. That stuff happens so much later that it doesn't have much to do with what you actually did. So it feels very disconnected. And honestly, that time in the late '80s, early '90s was all about college radio and independent labels. And we were a college radio band. I came from another college radio band in the Himalayas. And, we were an indie rock band. There wasn't anybody else out there playing music like us. Our A&R guy signed around the same time Nirvana from Seattle and us. And, because we were these two songwriters he liked. The music was different, but we were two songwriters. And although there were other people playing music, there wasn't anything out there that was successful like either one of us at the time. And so we had just never been signed before. They had the contract on Sub Pop. But we'd never been signed. But I remember talking with the people at the label. Back then you released a pre-single song first that was not going to be the big hit, which everyone thought was Rain King. And I wanted the first thing out of the box to be Mr. Jones because I thought it was just a good introductory song. I honestly didn't think it was a hit either. I just thought it was a good introductory song to the band. Right. The label wanted A Murder of One because it had that Jesus Jones drum beat. Boom, boom, but they wanted to edit it. And I refused to edit anything, so, we agreed to disagree and came out with nothing. We went on the road with no singles at all. Just kind of went out there playing, and we were on some good tours, opening for Suede when they were like the totally cool indie rock band, and then the middle band on the bill was the Cranberries, who blew up mid-tour through the sky. So there's all these people around, all these radio people, all these journalists around, and then we went on tour with Cracker, whose second album was blowing up right then. And, we would just, people would come to the gigs and they would ask us, "Oh, I liked your show, what's your single?" And we would just lie and say, "Mr. Jones." Right. And because people liked the record right away. They were playing like 8 songs off it. And it sort of bizarrely all coalesced into Mr. Jones. I can remember talking to the president of the label beforehand, and we were talking about, man, if we could just sell like 100,000 records, that would be a home run, because the second record would set it up even more, and the third album's your big album. Like, right. That's what people thought of, like Born to Run blew up Springsteen. A lot of people's third albums blew them up. And so it was kind of going on like that for a little while. We were kind of on these tours. We were doing pretty well. We weren't even in the top 200 when we played Saturday Night Live. But then we went on and played around here first on Saturday Night Live, and that was a good idea. I think we really fought hard to get to play around here and not Mr. Jones, because I think as good a song as Mr. Jones is, Round Here sums up what Counting Crows is, and it's what makes us different from everybody else. And I think that I wanted people to see that. I think it's a mistake to think that Mr. Jones was what blew Counting Crows up, because I don't think it is. It's what got us in the attention of the culture, but it was that performance of Round Here, because we weren't in the top 200, we played Round Here. Most people don't see the second song on Saturday Night Live. Right. And the record from that point on moved over 40 spots a week, every week for 5 weeks. It was like 213, 170-something, 130-something, 90-something, 50-something, 13, 7, 6, 6, 2 for the next 2 years. Wow. At 2. Never got to number 1.
It's been almost 17 years since the release of the album. What are your overall, what are your sentiments about the album looking back from here?
Same as the rest of them, I guess. God knows, it's been more than 17 years. It's been almost 18 years now. 18? I don't know. I guess the same as any other record. I mean, it's a period of my life, and the record documents it. I think that's the record itself. The making of it was very different from the other albums, because it was hell. I mean, it was worse by far.
Why is that?
Well, the band was really different. I mean, I think the band before August and everything after, we were very much... Our sound was a lot different than it is now. It was kind of like late model Roxy music in some ways. I knew what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't that yet. And I knew what it could be with this group of musicians. And, I'd spoken to T-Bone about it a lot. And we made some pretty big changes, Matt made him get rid of all his fretless basses, and we went and bought some antique basses, this Vox teardrop bass and a Hofner hollow body. And he got rid of all the fretless ones. We took half of Steve's drum kit off, just like stripped it down to like a much smaller, concise set to make him play sort of simpler. Dave Bryson played with a lot of, very influenced by like The Cure and a lot of those bands. And we took all the effects off him. We said the effects could be on later, you just got to play guitar right now. Charlie, we said no synthesizers, no keyboards, you got to play Hammond beat the organ and piano. And, it turned out accordion later on as well. But, like, he was more than happy. He was thrilled about it. Everyone else, it was like, what the hell are you talking about? But
we were just these very, very green musicians. And it was really unclear, especially to me, it was really unclear what exactly kind of a band we were. Because I was a country rock musician. I played rock and roll, rockabilly, that kind of thing. And the band at that time sounded kind of like Peter Gabriel or Roxy Music or something. And the only thing I knew was that we had to get to the heart of these songs. We had to put the singer out there so that people could hear what he's saying, And so we wound up kind of scaling everything back piece by piece to almost nothing. And it was very disturbing, because it left him totally naked. And, for like a month, Adam couldn't get a good vocal take. And there were songs like Mr. Jones that we could not get a decent drum take to save our lives. We just could not get these songs to sound right. Mostly because we didn't know, first of all, we weren't good enough musicians at that point to know how to make them sound great. And plus, we didn't know what they would sound like if they sounded great. We didn't know what we were going for.
I thought we needed to get together in a circle and learn how to play together. Learn to hear each other, learn to listen, learn to react. I wanted to be the kind of band that could sit around and play and really hear each other, which is who we are now, very much. It's what at the heart of this band is the ability to all be in one room together and play a song. The songs become what they become that way usually, and then we work on them afterwards. But I want us to be that band, and that was a big yanking for everyone else.
Oh God, we recorded Perfect Blue Buildings, and we just started playing it over and over and over again until we were so depressed and broken that we just kind of hated ourselves, or at least I hated myself. And Adam was slumped in the corner. He sang the vocal for that song that I think's on the record. I think he sang it like sitting in the corner, like completely broken down.
And you got to remember that, like, for most of your life, bands are totally democratic. It's just like they're like socialists almost, to be honest with you. You're just playing them for fun. Everyone does whatever they want. You agree on everything. And I sort of made a decision before August that I knew what I wanted to do and that I was going to take over the leadership of the band, kind of just by force of will. And I mean, look, we're together 20 years later. Basically, we've been together for 20 some odd years. No one, people love being in the band. We're really good friends. I don't do it bad. I mean, it's a dictatorship. It's pretty benevolent. We're very, very collaborative, and I always meant for it to be. But someone has to make final decisions, and I made a choice right then to make that me, which was tough on everybody. People got really pissed off.
It was a really tough time, everybody was really unhappy. We got talking in the car one night about, what was going wrong, and, we sort of argued, we sort of told each other off, and that, that there was no excuses, and I don't remember exactly what we said, but it was kind of a turning point, where we, we said we got to get all the junk out of our heads and just, make as great a music as we can because the songs deserve it,
The change in the music was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And what makes you think you have a right to tell us to do it? And it was a really big fight. And also, how do I do it? You're making your first album ever, and the guy in charge just yanked your entire skill set out from under you. But I wanted us to start from scratch and become this band that we are now. And we did. But it was fucking horrific.
And the songs how does the writing of the songs come together, or how did it come together for August? Are you the primary lyricist and write all the music, or do you write the lyrics and the music comes together? And
I've written lyrics for almost for other than an odd word or two. I think I've written every lyric for every song. That's always been me. Music, we often collaborate. It's never lyrics first. It always begins with music or at the same time. Sometimes we'll all be playing a song together, like something like Angels of Silences, or we were just all playing in a room together when we did Uncovering the Satellites. Most of this album...
Adam was amazing at making up lyrics and making up melodies on the spot. A couple of the songs, like Round Here and Anna Begins, have been written in these jam sessions where he just came up with these amazing, complex literary lyrics just off the top of his head. You know, there's a liner, there's these lines, there's like 100 of them, these lines in these songs where he says something that really matters, that's so well said, you know, that once you hear that lyric, you know, you just can't forget it. You know, he's an amazing lyricist. And I've never forgotten that. You know, it like guides everything else, makes everything else, you know, when we fight or, you know, whatever else is going on or craziness, you know, I always just remember, God, these songs are really great. It's an honor to play them.
Given the fact that this is your poetry, your lyrics, your soul you're putting out there, that gave you the justification to take control of the band in the way that you did?
I don't know. I mean, it's not the lyrics, it's just a decision. Because I don't think of them separately. I mean, I don't think of them as poetry. I think that, in fact, they're not poetry. They're songs. They're lyrics to songs, which is not the same thing as poetry. I think people want to call it poetry sometimes because it seems more mysterious. Because most people don't like to read it, quite honestly, and that means it must be really good. You know, I think it's like, you know, makes it seem sort of highfalutin. But I think lyrics are perfectly of their own value. And I know they're different from poetry because I can't write poetry. And I can write lyrics. But no, you know, the decision was just because it needed to be made. And maybe the fact that I do write the songs is what gave me the feeling of the direction I wanted to take, at least in the beginning. Since then, we've gone a lot of ways together. We have a big influence on each other in the band. I make decisions on, you know, in the end, but I usually talk to everyone because I want to know what they think. Because the decision I make is often not the decision I started with.
So a lot of bands seldom play songs off their first recordings many years on, and yet you still play all of the songs off this album in concert. So how do you think these songs have held up over the years, and do you play them any differently? You know, how do you feel about that process?
Well, for me, I never really get tired of songs, whether they're hits or old or new. It's not like really the issue. They're all about me, so they feel pretty fresh now as they did then. We make each set list up that day after sound check, so we're only going to play that night what we want to play. So I don't feel any responsibility to play anything for anyone except what I want to play. I think the best possible show is going to be the one that's filled with songs I want to play. And that's it. I don't have any particular reason to not want to play Mr. Jones. I like it. It's a great song.
Tell me where the name of the album comes from.
It was a song that I'd written called August and Everything After, which just basically means my life since I was born in August.
But the song wasn't on the album.
No, you know, it's a long song. It's like 8 or 9 minutes long, and
that's never seemed to stop you before.
Well, that's when other people are playing. Like, it was a piano song. I needed to play it, and I'm still not that good a piano player. I have I'm a pretty rudimentary player. So keeping a song together for 8-9 minutes, it was really hard for me, and I kept screwing it up. We were playing, and you couldn't, there wasn't Pro Tools or anything back then, so you couldn't edit. Piano was the one instrument you could never edit because all overtones hang over everything, so there's no editing piano on tape. And we were in the studio. I can remember there because T-Bone likes to do a lot of things at once. T-Bone Burnett produced the record. He's an amazing producer,
yeah.
But he's a multitasker on the highest possible level, meaning like he'll do like 5 albums at once. And we knew this going into it, so I put it in the contract that he couldn't do any album but ours, which kept him down to, I believe, 6 total while we were making our record. One of them was for that movie Thing Called Love. So that's where I met Samantha Mathis and River Phoenix and became friends with them. They would come to the studio all the time on their days off. And I guess we were in this little studio out of the house we'd been working in. And I was trying to record this song over and over again. It was driving me crazy. I could not get a version of it that was perfect. Kept screwing it up, and finally T-Bone's like, I gotta take a break. And he walked out of the room, and I was like frustrated myself, and just me and Pat McCarthy in the room, and I said, do me a favor, run the tape. I want to record this other song. I had this song I'd written for Bonnie Raitt, because my friend Bonnie Simmons, who was a DJ and a musical director in San Francisco for a lot of famous radio stations, she was really good friends with Bonnie Raitt, and Bonnie didn't write a lot of songs, so her fans send her songs on cassettes. Like, she gets boxes and boxes and boxes of cassettes, some that are recorded, some that are sung on acoustic guitar, some that are like 30 songs with someone just singing off the top of their head. They're bizarre. And Bonnie Simmons used to go through them. Like, she found something to talk about in one of those boxes. There was another one, and so I used to do it with her. I'd go through the boxes with her. This is like before Counting Crows was successful, and I met Bonnie Raitt because of that. And Bonnie was really nice to me. She was one of the people I met, the first person I really met, like, who was a successful musician, and she was really cool to me. I had a lot of fun going through boxes looking for songs for her. But I wanted to she was so nice to me when I first met her that I wrote this song. I mean, it was about me, but I thought it'd be really good for her. So I said to Pat, I have this song I want to record. Do me a favor, run the tape. I'm just going to record the song. So I played it, and it was done. I looked up, and T-Bone and River and Sam were all back in the room. I guess River and Samantha had come in like almost immediately, and one of them had run back out to get T-Bone, and he said, "What the hell is that?" And then that's a song called "Raining in Baltimore." Why isn't it on the record? I'm like, that's not for the record. I wrote it for Bonnie Raitt. I'm going to give it to Bonnie. I just want to record it right now. I'm just running down a recording of it. He goes, "You wrote it?" Yeah. He goes, "About you?" Yeah. He goes, "It's on the record. Fuck this August song. This thing's taking fucking forever." It's like, what do we need?
That was T-Bone.
It's like, what do we need a 10-minute piano song for, anyways? I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah, fine, no problem.
Right.
So that was the end of August being on the record right then and there. And truthfully, "Raining in Baltimore" is a better fit for the record, anyways.
You're known for rearranging and improvising with your songs in live performances. How did that come about?
On the very first gig of our very first tour, we were in Vancouver. We were going to play the Town Pump that night with the Cranberries. Suede was coming back from England like a day or two later. And me and Charlie and Matt and Dan were out, went down to like Lake Victoria, and we're sitting on the bank of Lake Victoria talking. And I suddenly turned around and said, "Okay, tonight, I'm going to, in the middle of Rain King, right after the guitar solo, I'm going to turn around and and everybody just drop down. Drop out, drop down, I don't care." And they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm going to do something. You follow me, and we'll do something cool." And they're like, what for? Why? I'm like, "I don't know. I think this is the band we're going to be. I think this is the band we're going to be from now on. I think I'm going to turn around and just stop, and I'm going to go somewhere, and you're going to follow me and find me, and we're going to find the end of the song somehow differently." And it started the very first night. We didn't do it before. We weren't doing that when we were playing around San Francisco. It just was sitting on the banks of the Victoria, and I was thinking about like the future and what we were about to embark on. The record wasn't out yet. It was coming out like a week later maybe. And I just thought, this is what we can do. This is what we sat around. This is what we sat around in a circle playing for, was to learn to listen to each other and play together. And now we should do something with that in concert. And things kind of grew out of that. The covers, the improvisations grew out of that. They're not like jam sessions. They're like, we go somewhere together. I tell a story. I make up a song in the middle of our songs. A lot of them on this concert as well are just things I've made up that became part of the song.
Taking improvisation to a new level, to doing improvisation in a way that had never been done before, to actually improvise an entire pop song, just off the top of our heads, because I knew that Adam could do it. I knew he had the melodic and lyrical ability to pull this off. And so, we kind of made a commitment that we would try it, and then all that tour, just song after song, we would try it. Some songs it worked, some songs it didn't.
And sometimes, like with Thunder Road, one time I broke down in the middle of Rain King. And Thunder Road's one of those songs where, if you're a Springsteen fan, you just kind of know the words. It's just a story, and you sort of know the words. Whether you can think of in the middle of Rain King is another matter entirely. We broke down Rain King, and I just started. I think I came right out of the guitar solo, broke down, and just started singing Thunder Road to the chords of Rain King. And I got about like halfway through the song before like I ran out of the ability to think about two things at once and lifted us back into Rain King and out of the song. And I don't know, a week later at some point, I did it again and got like 3/4 of the way through the song. And then one time I got all the way through the song. I think I had to cut one line to make it work. And all of a sudden, Thunder Road's in the middle of Rain King. But it literally just popped off the top of my head one day. I just started singing Screen Door Slams and Mary's Dress Slaves. It just seemed to make sense. And there it was. And that's probably the first one I ever did that way. Did Radiation Vibe for a while by, Fountains of Wayne. Just songs that I like sometimes pop into my head in the middle of songs. Sordid Humor was a band that a lot of us were in. I sang harmonies for Sordid Humor. I wasn't the lead singer. Emmy was the bass player for a period of time. Before Emmy was the bass player, Marty Jones, who was Mr. Jones.
When the improvs are good, I kind of know what he's going to do before he does it. But you could I could tell from his phrasing where he's going. I know where he's headed. It's almost like the song is playing you. The Adam's idea and your idea are kind of the same idea, and you're just following the idea to its logical conclusion. And then when he raises his hand to bring the song back in, you knew he was going to do that. You could feel it coming, and you're able to just launch it in.
And those songs kind of popped up in things. That Murder of One, it was the last concert of the August tours. We were playing in Paris, and we played 2 shows there. I don't know which night it was on, but all of a sudden we broke down in the middle of it, and it was the very end of the tours. We were going home after that. It was the very end of everything, a year and a half on the road, and it was the last song of the show, and I kind of just didn't want it to end, I think, because I got in the middle of the song, and all of a sudden I was singing a chunk of Red Hill Mining Town, hanging on, it's all that stuff, the whole in Murder of One, and then I went from there to like Doris Day, the Sordid Humor song, some version of Doris Day, and then I think I Goodnight Elizabeth was the first or second song I wrote for Recovering the Satellites, and I think I had already written it at that point. I think then I go into that, it's like some version of Goodnight Elizabeth, sort of, that's in this weird version of it that's kind of almost like a repetitive mantra.
I mean, I love when he brings down the band for us to start an improv. I mean, the improvs are, always my favorite part of the show.
They just kind of come into my head. I love music, so music pops into my head at times, whether it's me making it up or... I guess the main thing is that the songs to me are very fluid. They can be influenced by something I want to sing or something I think of, like someone else's song. This concert DVD is a good example because it has a lot of both.
So there were 2 bands simultaneously that you were in the very early 90s, the Himalayans, the Counting Crows. Can you tell us how Round Here, Himalayan song, ended up on the first Counting Crows record?
Oh, I'm trying to think if 3 bands or 2. I don't know. Counting Crows, we had this version of Counting Crows. We had a band. It kind of had 3 stages of being Counting Crows. We were this band. We were a 5-piece. There was like me and Matt. Matt and Dave had been in a band together for years, and they had the keyboard player from their band, and I'd been in a band with Marty Jones, and so he was playing with us, and his cousin Toby was drumming for us, and we got together and we had this band, and that was sort of the first version of Counting Crows. But we just recorded. We never played live. We wrote Anna Begins during that period. And then the band broke up. And I was doing nothing for a while, sort of sitting around. I get kind of burnt out on bands, Emmy. I was living with Emmy in this warehouse on 4th Street. Railroad tracks were 3rd Street. Like right by the railroad tracks in Berkeley. Right by the bay. And he came home one day. He lived in this warehouse, and he slapped the SF Weekly on the table, and he had this want ad circle. It was for this band. It said Singer Wanted. He said, call these guys, man. Sick of you sitting around. They like all the same shitty music you do. They probably love you. Go audition for a band. I'm sick of you sitting around the house not playing music. So I was like, okay. Called them up, went in there, and had this amazing audition. They just started playing music, and I started making up songs off the top of my head. I used to be really good at that, just completely stream of consciousness. Time and time again, it's one straight song. Around Here is one straight top of my head song. I went and edited it down from 12 minutes to whatever it is, but it was all there pretty much. And we had this great audition, and then I went away, and he called me the next day and told me that I had a job. And what I realized I didn't know is that they'd had a guy come in the night before, and that day when I called, they had just decided to hire him, but they hadn't told him yet. And they said, well, they decided to have one more guy come in because there was no harm. And so I did, and they didn't hire the other guy. Or hire, some hire. And the other guy didn't join the band. Himalayans was a blast. It's a great band to be in because there was no responsibility. It was very democratic. We just did everything together. We had a joke about us. we tell everyone we were from the Himalayas. We were five brothers, four, and then five when Marty joined the band. We were five brothers, and we've been raised in a yurt, top of a mountain. We rode yaks to school.
And how
But
sorry.
I was gonna say, while that was going on, Himalayan was doing pretty well. I've been in a band before that. We were doing pretty well. We were a pretty cool rock band. People were coming to see us, and me and Dave Bryson were still really good friends, and we were sort of dug playing together. So we would we go play open mics, just for fun. And I was in three bands because I was still in Sort of Humor. That's the third band. I was in Sort of Humor and I was in the Himalayans. Sort of Humor was probably the most popular of the three. Then Himalayans kind of equaled it after a while. But Dave and I would see each other all the time because he was working on Sort of Humor stuff, and we used to go. We just went and played an open mic together one night with some of the songs from our band, from the original Counting Crows, and we just killed. We just absolutely destroyed. It was, I don't remember. I think we played Shallow Days and something else. I don't know. And then somewhere along the lines, we started the open mic started asking the two of us to actually play a set in the middle of the open mic as opposed to kind of being a part of the open mic. So we started doing that, and then played a few gigs with Matt, who from his old band again, from the early Counting Crows, and their old drummer from their band, Mr. Dog. And we'd play little gigs in little corner bars, kind of a little acoustic quartet. Went and did some more recording during that period. And I think Omaha came from that period, maybe Mr. Jones. One day during one of the acoustic shows, Dave and I just started playing. He really loved Around Here. And he kind of had a little idea for how to play it on the guitar. The part he played back then on the acoustic, which you can see in the Storytellers concert, is just it's the bass line. It's the bass line from the Himalayan song. And we came up with this version of it that had this airiness that was very different,
When Adam sang Round Here acoustic, I remember standing in the back of the club being stunned, by this story, by these characters, and by this guy singing it. And I remember feeling like nobody's noticing that this is it. This is the real thing. This is what we're all trying to do. This is genius. This is great. So
when we started kind of getting other guys in the band, we would try it. It would be a big hit. We'd play Shallow Days and we played Round Here at open mics, and people would really get knocked out Around Here. And then that kind of we did some recording with that quartet, and I'm still in two other bands. And then a little while later, we got together we wanted to go do some more recording together and play. I'd written some more songs. I think I'd written Rain King and Murder of One maybe. And we wanted to record Around Here. And so I said, well, there's a couple guys I want to play with. This guy Charlie. I'd played a million gigs with. He was in other bands. The very first gig I ever played, Charlie was there, playing in another band. So was Emerglow.
The first time I saw Adam sing was with his band Model Society. I think that was actually his first show. And they were the opening band on a multiple bill. And I don't remember thinking anything special about him at that moment. I remember noticing their keyboard player was really good, Dan Eisenberg.
And I played a million gigs with bands with Charlie. Charlie was always in all these bands with Dan, who's later joined our band. I really wanted to play with Charlie. I love the way he played piano. So I want to bring Charlie in this time. I want him. And he goes, well, I'd like to bring Matt in again. And I was fine. And then we thought of this drummer, Steve Bowman. We both knew who. He was in a band called the Mad Affair, and their rehearsal space was down below us. And so we got together to all rehearse and record, and that's when we did Round Here with the band. And that's when it kind of was like Round Here and Rain King, and we suddenly realized this was different from everything else. Like, this was a band that we wanted to play in. Immediately we gelled. And that third set of recording sessions was like where this band was really born. Round Here was Round Here was just one of the songs in that session. And, pretty soon after that, somebody kind of wanted to sign us, and it was kind of a sketchy deal. We didn't really like it. It was sort of it wasn't a sketchy deal, but it just wasn't a deal we would have wanted to do. And I don't think it would have been the best idea for us. So we, wanted to find a lawyer. But it was also, no one had ever come to see us. It's the first time anyone had ever come to see a band I was in. I was 27. And, I've been struggling for a while there, and no one had ever come to see any band I was in until this guy came. I was in two other bands, and they were both bigger. Sort of Humor. I love Sort of Humor so much, I considered quitting all my other bands just to sing background vocals for them, because I loved being in the band. And Himalayans was just a really good band. It was a blast to be in it, and I didn't have to take responsibility for it. I was just having fun with my friends, and we were pretty successful, much, much bigger than Counting Crows was. And Counting Crows was this thing where I played open mics with Dave, really. It was fun, but it wasn't until that recording session where we went in and recorded, Ranking and Round Here, but, I wouldn't say it all around here. It has to do with it being that band. The fact that Charlie joined at that moment, had a lot to do with it. Charlie, Dave, and I had a real thing together that was really, magic, I think. But Round Here, of all the songs from that session, was really the one that was, whoa. Even though it was a Himalayan song, not a Counting Crows song, but it was very different. The Himalayan version is very different. It was part of what really gave me the feeling, like, between that and Ranking, that I was kind of ready to lead a band again. I got kind of wiped out being a band leader on my first band. You play in bands and it's all for fun, it's all democratic, and then when you're a kid, it's a hobby, and then you get in an actual band, and you try and be there together, and you realize, no, this has a lot to do with, like, a bunch of guys in a room together arguing, because it's really important. Everyone is artistic. People are overly sensitive because they're musicians or whatever, any kind of artist, and now you're in a room fighting over stuff, and that it's actually not fun. People will talk about you must love your job, but actually the truth is, like, I love making music. It's really important to me to make music, but it's more that it's important to me to make music than I love it, because it's hard, and you're fighting over something that you don't really want to fight over. You used to just enjoy it. It's one of those things people do just for fun, but we fight over it. You know what I mean? And that was really disappointing in my first band. And I quit playing music for a little while. Went off backpacking in Europe, and came back. And at that point, I sort of thought for the first time, though, I think I want to lead a band again. I think I know how direction to go in. I think I had a vision for a band. And even though it wasn't as successful, that's when I started to really want to make something more out of Counting Crows. As soon as we started playing in the clubs, we had, you had mailing lists back then, and Charlie came from a bunch of bands. Dave had come from another band. I was still in Himalayans and Sorted Humor, so we had fan bases from a lot of other bands. So we had crowds right away. Not massive, but like we could play a club right away.
We're playing a show at Slim's nightclub, which is at one end of the street here. And I go down to the pizza parlor next to the DNA Lounge, which is down at this end. And DNA Lounge had a lot of big acts play. It's a big show place. So I get my slice of pizza, and I look out the door, and there's a line in front of the door, people waiting, and I figure, they're waiting for the DNA Lounge at that end of the street. And I figured, I wonder who's playing at the DNA Lounge. And I go out the door, and I look down the street, and the line stretches all the way from the DNA all the way down the block to Slim's, where we're playing. And then I realized, oh my God, this 300-person line is here for us, and at that time, none of the bands I had played in generated that kind of excitement.
And we went from being second band to headliners pretty quickly. Meanwhile, this thing happened with the lawyer, and the guy offering us a deal, and the lawyer said to us, stay the weekend, and I want you to meet these manager friends, and they're kind of interested in managing you. And apparently, he played the same trick with them that we played on him, although we didn't think it was a trick. We were just stupid. We sent him 15 songs. Nobody sends anybody 15 songs. You send 2 songs, and you're fine. But those 15 songs had, half of August and everything after on them. It had Einstein on the Beach, which I didn't even consider for the record, but which was a #1 hit on the Rarities album. It had a lot of stuff that was good material, and so he sent it to the managers as a 15-song demo too, because he thought it would work really well. And I think they did it with a lot of record companies too, where like people would get this, laugh about how stupid it was to get 15 songs, and then kind of, oh wow, because a band that can write songs is a gold mine. A band with a sound might be good, but if you can write songs, that's just something you can do. 1 song is one thing. 15 songs probably means you can write songs together. So, that kind of blew us up, and we started becoming Counting Crows, and I think we'd only been together. We kind of got together in August of some year, and it was in January of, about 3 or 4 months later, when the first record, we had our manager and our lawyer by then, and the first record company's guys came over these 2 weekends, played the Kennel Club one weekend, and I can't remember the other club's name, the other weekend, and everyone came. It was a BMI showcase one weekend and ASCAP showcase the next, and everybody from every record company came to one of these 2 shows. And the Monday morning after the second show, every single company in America offered us contracts. And it's kind of really cool. So we had a massive bidding war. I just want to say this because it had a huge effect on our career, because we made a really important decision right then. We could have had so much money. We traded away all the money for total creative control and a higher royalty rate, which turned out to be very smart considering how the first record did. and all the records did. But I mean, from day one, there's been no record company interference with Counting Crows ever.
Wow.
We've always been able to run our own show. It had nothing to do with the success of the first album. We had the freedom before it, which is, when I tell you that, I want to say that because when you listen to August and Everything After, you should know that we made that album with T-Bone. That's the record we meant to make together. It paid off throughout our entire career because we've been able to be this band. Whatever anyone else might think about, like us or don't like us, the records were ours.
So, this is the band's first DVD. You've filmed tours in the past, but can you tell us why you decided that this tour and the August project was going to go forward for DVD?
Well, I guess I always feel like it's an audio medium, you know? It's not a visual medium, I feel like, when you're at home. Being at a concert's one thing, but, you know, I never thought videos did great things for rock and roll. Unless they did great things for video and for filmmaking. And there are some really inventive films made. Filmmakers who came out of video, and there's some very inventive videos. But a few of them, to me, added a great deal to the song, you know? And concert film, to me, is something that, like, there are amazing ones, but they should be really special. You know, like, Stop Making Sense, Talking Heads had this incredible structured concert that was amazing. That's worth filming, you know, it's worth putting out. You know, The Last Waltz is about the end of the band, they have all these people come on, that's amazing. Rolling Stones have made a bunch of them, but then they're like the greatest rock and roll. They're amazing live, you know. And I guess I just kind of never felt... Well, the truth is, we didn't put out DVDs, but we did do a lot of performances that were on television. We did The Very Storytellers, which was a really special performance, you know, which could have been put out as a DVD, I guess, at any time. The Live at the 10 Spot one that we did, that concert, the Hammerstein during the Recovering Satellites tour. There's one that's on TV like every week, Soundstage. It's on Palladium all the time. Soundstage from... you know, this last year, we did it right before the release of Saturday Nights and Sunday Mornings, and we played the album basically from top to bottom. Like every song except for one. And we weren't going to do that. We were going to play this concert, and then right before I went on stage, I thought, no, man, let's just play the new record, top to bottom. We'd never done it before, which is kind of like what we did here with August. We just walked out on stage and did it, and it was cool. I mean, and then they just haven't been released as DVDs. This one, you know, we were talking about doing something to celebrate the anniversary, some anniversary, I don't know what it was going to be, of August and Everything After. And but the original concept wasn't to do this. We were going to have a lot of friends and people that had come and been a part of our career throughout our career all come to New York, and we were going to play this concert. We played our songs, we played their songs, kind of like The Last Waltz. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to play the album from top to bottom because I didn't think it would work. I'd thought about it and listened to it, and I just didn't think it was a good idea. And we actually had guys from Jayhawks. Jacob Dylan was coming. Maria McKee. I can't remember who else we'd spoken to. Guys in Cracker were coming. You know, we had a lot of people. And then one night we were on this tour, touring baseball stadiums that summer, and Emmy and I were on the bus trying to figure out a set list. And I was like, I started thinking through August and thinking how differently we play all the songs. Because the first time I thought about it, I thought it in terms of how the songs actually run from one to another. It seemed like a boring concert. But then I thought about the way we play them now, about the fact that, you know, Ghost Train's so much harder than it was, about the fact that Raining in Baltimore is often in the middle of around here, about the fact that there's this big, long, there's a much more beautiful, longer version of not Perfect Blue Buildings, of is it Perfect Blue Buildings? No, Sullivan Street. That it's got a different feel to it, with the pedal steel and the length of it, the middle section. I started thinking about the different improvisations in the songs and what the difference that they make in the songs themselves, and all of a sudden it seemed like, well, that actually is kind of a cool concert. And so Amy and I decided to surprise the band, not tell them. And then right before they walked on stage, we basically told them we're playing August from top to bottom. And we went on stage and did it, and it was really cool. It wasn't until after the concert that Millard told us he'd never played two of the songs ever in his life. We told him, I guess we told him about 20 minutes before the show. Millard didn't mention to any of us that he'd never played them. He just went on the bus and got the computer out and his iPod and listened to them and learn the songs. Millard will do that. You plan to play a song and Jim will prepare for it, or Millard will prepare for it. And they can do it pretty quickly, but Millard won't tell you sometimes if he's never done it. He'll just do it. I remember him telling me afterwards. I was like a little bit horrified. Oh, great. Okay, thank you. But it went so well, and then I thought, okay, let's do this for the show. And the guys were okay. Yeah, let's do it 2 or 3 more times before the show. And I was like, no, we're not doing it again. That's it. We can do it now. Let's keep it fresh. We'll do it again at Town Hall. So we did.